Tired. Right, welcome to the workshop. Well, I'm in the office at the minute, but we're going to go into the workshop shortly. I found something really cool. I found my old notebook, and my old notebook has a lot of ideas. Some good, some bad, some weird. I'm going to class them under weird. But I did find a build that I forgot that I was planning, a Game Boy arcade cabinet. So we build like a big Game Boy, a mock-up of one, and we have like a coin slot where we put some money in to activate it, and we play a game, and throughout the game, instead of collecting things within the game, we collect cards, and it will dispense like a printout of an item or a card, a bit like a Pokemon card that we can collect and the like. And this thing's really cool. I completely forgot about this. It's really cool looking back. I mean, look, I even started planning the game. It was sort of like I vaguely remember it, sort of like a top-down adventure game where you just explore this nice world. It was just a nice feel-good game aimed at giving people little side quests to collect things and explore and work things out. And yeah, it's just incredible. I think what I'm going to do is, let's try and make something. I've got all the measurements and everything still, but I was trying to take a Game Boy and scale it up, and then hopefully we can get something close to that. I don't think we can dispense the stuff or the coin activation yet, but let's see what we can get working. And so let's head on in. Let's start prototyping a Game Boy vending machine. An arcade Game Boy vending machine. Yeah, we'll go with that. Right, go.
So these are the old plans, and looking back it looked like, I don't know why, but I was going to scale it up by 18%. So we sort of measure the Game Boy, scale up to 18%. Let's grab one of the arcade kits. I bought a job lot of these. They're pretty convenient to have around. You'll be surprised how often you use it for other things, especially with the buttons. And started marking out bits and bobs. So we built like a booth from, I'm a great hoarder of panels, and these are old wardrobe panels, and started marking out where I would sort of guess where the buttons are going to be. It's an approximation, it's not exact, and started cutting them out of this really horrible board that you get with cheap bookcases, in this case wardrobes. So it doesn't cut very neatly, but it does the job. It's quick and dirty, but there you go. Pushing the buttons in one-handed, of course, because the other hand's working the camera. But yeah, there we go, the buttons were in, and it's sort of, you can sort of see the layout from this, and we fired up Tetris. It's running off a Raspberry Pi, running RetroPie, by the way. One of the very first Raspberry Pis. I've got loads of them kicking around, and it's nice to put them to good use. And they do actually run or emulate quite a few of these early games, especially Tetris. Eventually I want to write my own games, as you know, and I'm going to document that. I'm going to use GB Studio if you want a heads up on how I'm going to do it, so I'm able to write my own Game Boy games, save it as a ROM, upload it to the Raspberry Pi, and away we go. It's not as difficult as you think, but at the minute we are just running Tetris, the old classic Tetris. So these are the boards that we're going to use as like the framework. We need to put a bit of a face on it. We need to dress it up a bit. So I'm just going to use cardboard. I've got loads of cardboard. So a good tip of knowing where to cut the holes out in the cardboard was to put dabs of paint on the red buttons. I've got red paint on the red buttons, and then you sort of squish the cardboard against them, all the buttons, making sure they're all pressed, and then when you take it away, you know where you can drill the hole, so it's perfect. I was always wondering how to do that, and here we have me giving it a quick go, a quick test. Yeah, it's running really well. It's surprising how when you play a game vertically and you don't actually have the controller in your hands, you're playing vertically, smacking buttons or whatever, it's quite surprising how different the gameplay is. And you'll notice the buttons are bigger, and yeah, the buttons are bigger, and if I was to move out of the way, you can see like a cross. There we go, the directional button, like the D-pad you'll see on a classic Nintendo controller. So I'm going to talk about how I made those, because basically they just stick on top of the traditional arcade buttons that you saw earlier. But what you're seeing now, the bigger buttons, they're actually 3D printed. And I went on to Thingiverse, downloaded a model of an NES controller. Was it an NES controller? I think it was a Gameboy model. And I just sort of cut out the directional pads and cut out the buttons as well. We're going for 4 buttons, so start, select, button A and button B. I know button A and B are traditionally bigger, and the start and the select buttons are sort of like elongated, rectangular shape. But at the minute, like I said, it's just prototype. It's important to get something working, I think, at this stage, so by any means possible. So here they are. Gave them a lick of paint, the red buttons. They actually look really good. The D-pad looks brilliant, I think. I'm really pleased with the way that's come out. And so it was just a case of gluing them on. Had a bit of problem with the directional button, so like when you pressed down, it would also press like the left or right button as well. So as you press down, you'd shoot diagonally down to the left or to the right. So I sort of had to saw the left and right button off, so they're sort of separate from the up and down. That's really hard to explain, isn't it? But yeah, I had to do some quick modifications, a bit of a bodge, if I'm honest, to get it to work properly. Added a bit of edging around the screen, and it's not looking too bad. It's actually playing really well, and my son and I are playing it quite a lot. Might actually do a live stream, like an online gaming tournament thing. But yeah, there you go. The Game Boy arcade machine is a go.